What's up everyone? I am so happy to bring you guys an announcement that the Backlist Readathon is going to happen this year. I've been really busy because I started up a micro bakery. I'm also in the middle of an IVF transfer, so there's a lot of things going on, but I really have missed reading and I really love the Backlist Readathon. It's just like the best readathon. Like even if you are in a slump or you don't know what to read, the Backlist Readathon is just so helpful for that. So I figured, why not do a readathon? Why not try and do daily vlogs? And so I decided last minute that we're gonna be hosting it this year. I asked my friend Lena from Lena's Bookshelf to help host with me this year. She's been my friend for many years. She has an amazing booktube channel. She also does a lot of like TikToks and reels and YouTube shorts and all that kind of stuff, especially during the holidays. She'll unbox like all her advent calendars. I hesitate to say that we have the same reading taste, but I feel like if you've watched my channel previously when, you know, I used to be really into reading and I would read all these like crazy thrillers or cults or, you know, people with all these mind problems, she really loves to read stuff like that too. So I would say that if you've liked my content in the past, that Lena would be a perfect person to follow. She also was homeschooled like me, so we have a lot of things in common. I'll tag her channel down below so you can go check her out. She also is gonna have an announcement video and I think she's gonna talk about her TBR. So you don't wanna miss that video. We're gonna go ahead and go into the details of the Backlist Readathon for this year. So before I forget, there is a Discord if you wanna join that. You know, we'll probably have some reading sprints, you know, you can ask for book recommendations, a lot of different things there. I'll link it down below. The Backlist Readathon is going to be from March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day, I believe, until March 23rd. So it's gonna run a Monday through a Sunday. So whether you have weekends off or maybe you have weekdays off and you work weekends, you should be able to get a good amount of reading in within the week. We're gonna be doing 5 different prompts and all of these prompts are for you to read a backlist book. What that means is something that is published, we're actually gonna say published before 2025, this current year, because we want you to read older books that are on your list. Backlist means specifically something like in regards to the publication, but we don't get like too much into the nitty-gritty details, but anything that is before 2025. So the first prompt is to read a backlist book with mostly green on the cover. Now we're not gonna sit here and like figure out rules and regulations. If you pull out, oh actually I put a lot of my green books out on the little free library, but if you pull out, you know, like say this, I would call this kind of like greenish tinted, but I mean, go ahead and read it. You know, it's mostly green. Something like this, that's green, it's on the cover. You decide how much is mostly green, but if it's green on the cover, you can count it. The next prompt is actually really fun. So you're gonna pick 3 books off of your TBR or shelf or library or, you know, whatever you're using. You are going to read the first sentence out of those 3 books, and whichever sentence grabs you the most, you know, whichever is the most intriguing, whichever one feels like you should read it, whichever one is pulling you in, that is the one that you pick for this. Make sure it's a backlist book, I forgot to say that. The next one is to read a backlist book that matches your current emotion. So when you're getting ready to pick this prompt, if you're happy, maybe pick a happy book. If you are maybe trying to relate to a specific character, pick a book that has something that you can relate to. So definitely match it up to your current emotion. The next one is to read the oldest published backlist on your TBR. So if you have a Goodreads shelf, that's actually really easy because I think you can categorize it on your TBR based by when it was published. So you can pick, you know, one of the oldest ones. I really feel like you should have a little bit of options. So maybe I would pick like the 5 oldest ones and kind of gauge like what you want to read through there. It doesn't have to be like the exact oldest, you know, book on your TBR, especially if you don't use Goodreads and you have a shelf. Just kind of like guess what you think is the oldest published. You know, you don't need to make this like really hard, make it a job or anything, but we want you to read something that is really old on your shelf, that's maybe even been there for years and years, not something that's new and fancy and sparkly and everyone's raving about. I feel like that's when you find some hidden gems, is when you go back and read books that, you know, have been sitting on your shelf for a while or are really old and maybe people aren't talking about them now because they're all old and done with, they're not new and pretty. Then last but not least, read a backlist that a friend has recommended to you, and I would say recommended multiple times. Like you know that there are some friends, or maybe even multiple friends, that have been like, Jackie, come on, like please read that book. Lena has definitely done that to me. I know that I have on my list Defending Jacob. She has recommended that to me many times. I know that Sworn to Silence, I think I have it on this shelf somewhere, but yeah, Sworn to Silence, that many people have recommended to me. So pick something that maybe has been recommended to you like many times. And if you don't have any friends, count me and Lena as your friend, and that we have recommended books to you previously. You would have to go check my book channel. This is actually like my channel now that I'm doing like all book stuff on. But if you are new here, I used to actually have a book channel. It was just too much to keep up with both now that I have a daughter. But I'll try and link it down below, so that way you can go check it out, because I have tons and tons of recommendations there. I did booktube for, you know, many years. And so, you know, if you want a reading vlog, if you want recommendations, if you want fun things, a lot of my book stuff is over there. That is it for the Backlist Readathon stuff. I think I talked about all the details. Definitely, you know, go follow Lena, go on the Discord if you have Discord, and, you know, tell us like what you are going to be picking. I am not going to pick my TBR until I get closer to it, because I haven't even sat down and figured it out, and I have not been reading very much. So I'm really going to be particular with like what I'm choosing and which prompts I'm going to be trying to do. I should also clarify, you can totally double up prompts. You know, we're not saying you have to read 5 books. Go ahead and double up your prompts. I really need to focus though on like what I want to read and what I'm in the mood for, because that has changed so dramatically, like since I've had a baby, or even like since she's become like a toddler. I don't know why. I feel like ADHD is like, there's just so much going on. So it's hard for me to like actually sit and want to read a book. But we're definitely gonna try during this readathon, and I'm also gonna be trying to daily vlog, because I love doing that. It's very motivating. You guys will probably get to see like what I do for the bakery that week, how I'm gonna try and like fit in reading or listening to a book. It also makes me make myself sit and read and try, instead of like if I'm not vlogging, then it's just like, I don't really have to read for this readathon, do I? So before I close this out, I do want to talk about 2 books that I read. It was actually in January. I haven't read anything in February, but I didn't have enough content obviously for like a wrap up, and I didn't want to like make myself do a TBR when I felt like I was too busy to read. But I did want to talk about the 2 books, because one was like a 3.5 star and one was a 5 star. So I think that they should be talked about. So we'll start with the 3.5 star. I read The Boyfriend by Freida McFadden. I know a lot of people, you know, don't like this author. I have not liked some of the books, and then I've also liked some of them. Like I was one that really loved The Housemaid, and I read it when my baby would not sleep like when she was a newborn. So there's a special place in my heart with that book. Ended up giving The Boyfriend 3.5. I will say the first half was actually pretty slow and boring, and so that's why I couldn't rate it anything, you know, higher. But I will say that I did not guess the ending. I thought I guessed it. I thought I knew where it was going. It threw me for a loop for sure. And it's really hard for thrillers to kind of do that nowadays. I actually don't read a lot of thrillers because of that. I'm pretty bored with a lot of them now. I did say in my review that it probably isn't one of the thrillers that I would like really recommend. It was kind of just like an easy read thriller. Like if you just have so much going on and you're just like looking for kind of like a fun ride, then I would pick up this book. I actually would pick up a lot of other different Freida McFadden ones before I would pick this one up. But I will say, in my journey of not being able to read and having a hard time focusing, once you get to the 50% mark, I actually was like flying through it, and that was good enough for me to enjoy the rest of it. Okay, now we're gonna talk about the 5 star. So I am like surprised with myself because I'm usually not a romance person, but I've really started to get into romance a little bit more just because I don't have the mindset to like sit and focus and think, and like if I'm reading, you know, it's here and there when I can, it's when my brain hasn't turned off yet. So romance has actually started becoming like pretty easy for me to read. I picked up the first book to this series. It's actually the Best Kept Secret series by Candy Steiner. This second one is called What He Always Knew. I think the first one was called What He Doesn't Know, and I actually read that in like, I think it was November, like November or December, and I loved it also. I gave it 5 stars, but I actually think the second one was like a little bit better. If you don't like the concept of cheating and love triangles and like a marriage, then I would not pick this up. But if you don't care about that and you really like having like really deep emotions and like there is lots of loss in this book, it was just like both of the books in the series are extremely emotional, and I actually prefer, like, I like love triangles, and the fact that she was actually like married but like her husband wasn't being the best, and there were like things that, I'm not saying like it's okay to cheat, but I'm just saying like within this flawed character, well, a lot of the characters were flawed, but like within that you kind of like understand why this person did what they did, you know, there's a lot of things. But anyway, I'm not like saying like, oh yeah, like you should totally cheat if your partner like did this thing or anything, but I think that's why I liked it, is because there were like, you know, it's lots of drama, but then also, I don't want to say it's like a Jodi Picoult book, but like, you know how like there's the moral dilemmas, like that's how I kind of felt reading this. And in the one book I was kind of rooting for one person, and then in the other book I was rooting for the other person. So like, I don't know, the series is really, really good. I gave both of them 5 stars. And I actually started, there's a 3rd book to the series. I don't know though if I'm gonna love it as much, because it doesn't deal with the whole love triangle, like marriage people that were in the first 2 books. It is though kind of like age gap. Like I think it's like a 21-year-old and then the guy is like 30 something. So I don't know if I'll love it as much, but that is what I'm currently reading right now. And I mean, it's slow going. I like pick up my Kindle once every couple days, but I just wanted to like talk about those books because I really enjoyed the Candy Steiner book, and I've been looking for more recommendations that would be like emotional romance or like love triangle romance. Like if you have any recommendations like that, those are the things that I've been able to like pick up and kind of like focus on. You know, there's not a lot of characters, there's not a huge plot to follow. So that is it. I hope you guys are very excited for the Backlist Readathon, and I will see you guys in another video soon. Bye everyone.